Hey guys, everyone excited?
Oh, we can play the video if we want to start with that. Great.
Hi, we're Farmer's Fridge. We're on a mission to answer a simple question. Why is it so much easier to find junk food than healthy options when you're on the go? What if it could be different? If we could take the convenience of a vending machine and fill it with healthy food instead? We gave it a try, and spoiler alert, it worked. It all starts in our kitchen facility. We bring in fresh, whole, clean label ingredients and make meals from scratch. When it comes to our food, we believe in keeping it simple, combining lots of fresh fruits, veggies, and whole grains for food you can feel good about. From there, we send our ready-to-eat meals across the country. We stock meals in our fridge locations, stock the shelves of our retail and wholesale partners, and send them straight to our customers' homes with our delivery program. And we're just getting started. We want to make it simple for everyone to eat well, wherever they are.
All right, awesome. My name is Matt Goynes, and I'm the VP of Sales for Central Region at Verve Group. I have with us Meghan Hurley, VP of Marketing from Farmer's Fridge. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, everybody. So happy to be here. This is exciting in person. It's nice to see some faces.
That's right. And I actually got to experience Farmer's Fridge for the first time yesterday in the Midway airport and was extremely impressed. I got the cheese snack and boiled eggs, extremely fresh. But what really impressed me was the quality of the salads. Like I thought it would just be like a standard Cobb salad and, something you get at the gas station. Maybe it's a little, moist in there or wilted.
Oh, God.
But the jars really kept it fresh. And we were talking like feta and spinach and, caramelized onions. It was very impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah. So one of the things I found most interesting is, we all know COVID made a lot of businesses adapt. It also forced a lot of businesses who couldn't adapt quickly enough out of business, unfortunately. One of the things that you guys did was kind of adapt from being a very B2B focused business model where you have your fridges in specific airports and office buildings. And then now people aren't going to airports and office buildings. So what you guys did was pivot to more of a B2C model. So tell us more about that. I think that pivot and how quickly you guys did it is amazing. And I'm happy that you were able to adapt. And now as people are coming out and going to airports and businesses again, tell us about how you're adapting once again.
Okay. Hopefully I answer all those questions. I tend to get a little lost on my talking and take people on a different adventure. But so when I'm sure everybody remembers, it's March, COVID first hit in New York, a lot of our businesses in New York. So over about 2 weeks, we lost 80% of our revenue. We're a funded company, so we are burning cash at a specific run rate. So when you lose all your money, it's a little scary. So we all went home, as everybody I think did. So it was like Friday the 13th. And we were all had the oh shit moment, which I know everybody probably was very familiar with. And we didn't know what to do. Our biggest areas of revenue are airports. No one was traveling. Hospitals, you're not going into hospitals. And you're definitely not getting Farmer's Fridge if you're there. And so we weren't sure how to survive. What was lucky is our CFO at the time was from Trunk Club. I was previously at Trunk Club, which is a styling service owned by Nordstrom, but e-com. And he was like, I think we can, because we're vertically integrated. So he was like, I think we can do this on, launch an e-commerce channel. I have 2 little boys, so they're at home with me, and I take our CEO Luke's credit card and launch on Facebook with ads that, and actually my whole team was in that video. So Liz, who's here, you'll know her as the famous actress walking in her condo with her box. Anyways, so we take all of our family members, half my team is like at home with their parents, and we make ads with all of them and their, basically their forearms dumping salads. And then we launch on Facebook. And so whether you hate Facebook or not, or Meta, they're really helpful with their targeting. So we were able to slowly bring back that revenue. and really leaned on our delivery business for that first year. And being vertically integrated, we used all our own drivers, which was great. We actually branded our vans, which were used to being white vans in the middle of the night that would stock fridges. Now we branded them. We found out our drivers are super personable people. You wouldn't think that people who are stocking fridges at night were wanted to actually see any humans, but they were so outgoing and lovely and still are. And so we launched that whole delivery business. Also at the same time, internally, we always see our product as the fridge. But what actually our product is the salad. We make the salads, the jarred salad. And coming out from the fridge, it was like we all had this realization of like, oh my gosh, we actually sell a jarred salad. It's not our precious baby fridge that we love so much. And so then a lot of retailers came knocking and wholesalers. So we're on shelf at Jewel, we're on shelf at Target. We're offering, a CPG or a fresh branded CPG item in an area that usually you don't see many brands in. So like the deli area, it's like us and Boar's Head, which our CEO and my children are very obsessed with Boar's Head. I didn't know there was such a passionate amount of people behind that brand, but now I know because we hang out right next to them and they're black shelves and great branding. And so coming out of those 2 years, we really became, we were one channel with our fridges, and now we're omni-channel. So we're wholesale retail. We still have the delivery business, and then our fridges are coming back, as you mentioned. And so as people are traveling, as workplaces are opening back up, but they're hybrid, we're the perfect offering for that. So airports are struggling with labor. We are a no labor solution, so we're perfect for that. They're also, struggling with just staying open. So we're 24/7, so it's totally fine. We are a good solution for that. And then workplaces. So we are a hybrid. I don't even want to say hybrid. We're like a show up at the office if you want to show up kind of option. And so our fridge is great because you go in and there's food there. And we work we're out in Fulton Market here in Chicago, but in an area where there's actually no restaurants, which is kind of weird if you spend time in Fulton Market. It's all restaurants, except for where Farmers Fridge is. So there's not very food options. And so the fridge is actually perfect for locations like that. And so we've seen our fridge business after 2 years of kind of being dormant, just take off. And so now we are national. Before the pandemic, we were just New York and Chicago, and then Indianapolis and Milwaukee. And now we're up to Minneapolis, east all the way to Boston, and then we're in LAX and some San Diego locations. So, and hopefully headed to your town soon in Texas. Yeah.
Well, that's super exciting. And I will say you nailed it. You hit every part of that.
Yeah.
Not all businesses are able to be that nimble and that quick. And it's pretty impressive that the entire promo sizzle video is your entire team.
I know. Aren't they so good looking? Like, I'm so impressed. We had wanted to do it. And Liz, who's our head of brand, is here. She's like, I think I'm just going to go do this video. And I was like, okay, like, just tell me how much it's going to cost. And then she's like, here's the video. We just cut it. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, I love a good, cheap video. And it looks so great. It's just so nice.
That's awesome. Startup life, right?
Yeah. A voiceover is our customer service, head of customer service. She went to school for media. So if anybody's looking for voiceover talent,
I tell you,
she's for hire.
That's awesome. So not a lot of businesses are in the B2B and B2C space. Talk to us a little bit about how you treat those customers differently.
Yeah. So it's wild. So I came from always brand side with great companies, Trunk Club, Nordstrom, Whole Foods, Starbucks, Pete's Coffee. Like I love brand. And I was a big fan of Farmer's Fridge, and I ate Farmer's Fridge every day while I worked at Trunk Club. And I was like, this brand is great. And then I walk in the doors on my first day and I'm like, I think this is a B2B company, which is fine. But if you're a brand B2C person, you're like, B2B, that's like sales. No offense to salespeople. But I'm a one to many. I don't want to do one-to-one. Like I like humans, but I just, it's awkward. I'd rather just send you an email. So really it was about selling this fridge into locations where we're already vetted. So like hospitals are saying like, we need a healthy option. Farmer's Fridge is perfect. And we were like, yes, we are. And so at the time, I think we were overconfident in our marketing a bit, and just a little bit overconfident in how we targeted places, because they were more targeting us. And then it worked. And then we could go to like the next hospital and be like, see, Northwestern loves us. Don't you love us? And so then all of a sudden we go into B2C land, and it's like, oh, how do you target people? And so that, you do the classic upload of the email into the, into the meta and get the lookalike audiences and do all of that. But we hadn't developed a brand off of consumers. And so now that we're back in the space of B2B with wholesale retail and our fridges, but B2C with delivery, we're really taking a hard look at really how we do everything. So if you ask anybody at Farmer's Fridge about our data or about an analysis, they will all talk about the fridge as if it is a human. Like everybody can give you the details of the Groupon fridge or the whatever you want to call it, 600 North Kingsbury fridge. Like they know it intimately, but they do not know anything about customer behavior. And so since I've started, what we're trying to do is really just bring in a customer perspective. So when you look at data, it's about like customer behavior data, not fridge behavior data. And it's been the hardest. It's actually been really hard to explain when everybody's so focused on this B2B experience, but also just fridge and not really thinking of the customer. And so it's like back to marketing 101, we're just talking about customer funnel, talking about how a customer behaves at our different touch points versus before. And if you were a fridge customer before, you only were at one fridge. Like I was at my Trunk Club fridge. It was the only one I went to, maybe in the airports, but you never really moved around. And so it made sense. But now it's really trying to figure out how we come out and understand our consumer and our customers a little bit better. We even talk about like, should we call them consumers or should we call them customers? We were calling them C2 for a while, which I had never heard of. And I was like, I'm one of the oldest people at that company. And I'm just like, these are brand new terms. And it's just trying to figure out how we really talk about the human that is purchasing the food that we make and where they are purchasing it from versus like the passion about the one O'Hare fridge or whatever. And as part of that, it's really figuring out our brand and how we talk to consumers. And so we on the marketing side are pretty comfortable in that space. But then right now going through the whole sales cycle and trying to figure out inbound, it's like trying to find that voice and make it much more comfortable with whoever we're selling to versus getting very structured. Like right now we're getting very structured and we're like, oh, it's a little too salesy. So it's been a interesting journey, I would say.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And I think if you look at the B2B customer, they're more need-based.
Yeah.
Getting off the airplane. Of course, now airplanes aren't serving food on board. So I'm starving. I need something to eat, need-based. B2C, more convenience. I need something delivered to my house because I'm working from home now and working through my lunch hour. So yeah, it really is a different customer. And when I think of who you're targeting on the B2C space, is it the health nut, like the salad snob?
No.
Or tell us a little bit about who that customer is.
Yeah. So we're trying not to do that.
Or should I say that C2 is?
Yeah, the C2. I was just like, what? They wanted to change our team name to C2. That was very confusing time. We're out of that now. But so we're really trying to make healthy food accessible. And as part of that, kind of meet people where they're at. And so we don't, I've worked for some great brands that have had different parts of, the health story. And what we don't want to do is make anyone feel like they're not part of that. So we're not marketing towards a specific diet. We all know we need to probably eat a little bit more fruits and vegetables. And we hope that we can just be part of that decision-making. So we really just try to make it fun and accessible. And it's not, we don't cater to any specific diet trend. We don't try to talk about diet trends. We really don't talk about too much of the wellness lifestyle. Most of our customers, what we have found through the research that we've just started to do, is that people come to us first for convenience, and then they're happy that they found something healthy. So they're not seeking out a healthy option first, which is interesting because when I first started, we'd always say it's convenience and health. Those are the things. And it's really very clearly convenience first and then health. And so that's a much different play than somebody who's like, I am, keto or gluten-free or whatever. They're going to seek out something much different. And so we solve a different need, which makes it a lot more fun for us. And it's a lot easier, honestly, when you're talking to people on a real level. Like We were talking about it actually last night at dinner. I don't eat salads on the weekends. Like that's not what weekends are for. Like I eat Farmer's Fridge all week long and it's great. But like on the weekends, I am going, I go to Fire Cakes on Saturday, I get my donuts. And then like for lunch, we're like getting the kids Lunchables and then I'm having like a nice lunch. And so that's kind of how, and by nice lunch, I mean like a sandwich from like an Italian sandwich shop, because that's what I want. And so I eat Farmer's Fridge all week long. It makes my choice is very easy. And I know I'm like checking the box on something that makes me feel good. I'm not going to crash. But it's just, I am, like most people, you go too hard on anything. And then like, 2 weeks later, I think we talked about this, then your like workout thing is sitting over there and you're like, oh, that lifestyle I was going to pick up is now hiding under my dirty laundry. And that's hopefully not what we want to be. We want to just be the one choice that you make a week to eat just a bit healthier.
Yeah, and you're dealing with a lot of consumer psychology as well. So I think about like the airports and the fridges and the vending machines. Like if there's just one vending machine, it's junk food. I don't feel guilty getting a Snickers bar. But if there's a Farmer's Fridge right next to it, a healthy option, I kind of look around and I feel like I'm being judged. So I feel like I have to get the healthy option.
I mean, we're not judging you, but if you feel that way,
somebody
to support Farmer's Fridge, I think that's great. Yeah, it's funny. It's we used to not be at Midway. I fly out of Midway a lot. And I would go there and I'd be like, well, it's okay. There's no Farmer's Fridge here. So like I can eat gummy bears and get my glass of wine and it's okay. But then once we did go to Midway and I could get Farmer's Fridge, it actually is so nice to eat healthy at the airport. I travel a lot with my kids. They've created great content, by the way. You'll see my kids all over our stuff because they are also free models. That's startup life.
Child labor.
I know. I mean, they get a great product, but they like run to the fridges because they are very excited. They like all of that product too. They're not eating the salads. I don't want to pretend like my kids are super healthy, but they like the parfaits and they like the eggs and all the bowls. And so, it's just a nice option to have. And, hopefully it makes you feel a lot better when you're traveling to wherever you're going.
That's great. And just want to pivot a bit while we have you up on stage and talk about things you're passionate about. And, this is going to be my only plug for Verve Group. So get ready.
Do it.
We are passionate about disrupting the programmatic space and getting rid of all the middlemen. So we own the entire demand to supply chain. When I talked about you were passionate about other things still related to marketing, but I thought it was extremely interesting. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So when Matt asked me, I was like, I know my answer should be like data, or like, I'm so passionate about first party data and privacy, because I know those are the buzzwords. And I know everybody shows up at all the talks to like figure out what's going to happen. But it's not actually what I'm passionate about. And I hope someone does figure it out and all my stuff can perform a lot better at work. But one of the things that I've been watching happen, I know everybody's been watching this happen. And at my point in my career, I'm kind of looking out in front of, probably 30 more years of working. CMOs move out of positions. I think it's less than 18 months, but let's just assume it's 2 years, which is like 15 jobs. And that is like, oh my God, like that sounds exhausting. And so one of the things that has frustrated me, and I haven't seen anybody really have a good answer or doing anything about it, is how do you brand the CMO better, or the marketing spot in the executive suite or the marketing team? I often feel like marketers work really hard. They're all over the place. I know everybody saw us walk in today from like the 2 events we've already been at. And yet they're the first to get blamed and then the first to also get fired when you're in an executive spot. And so as I grow my career, I'm like, maybe I should go be a data scientist, because everyone's passionate about data. But like, what is marketing in the future, and like, how do they actually earn a spot at the table? We are driving a lot of the revenue. We're responsible for a lot of that revenue. And so it's just like, how do you brand? Like, why can't which we talked about, like, why can't the people in charge of the brand themselves in that role a little bit better, to make sure that there is growth and that they're an important voice. And so I know I'm rambling on a little bit, but I think that would be like, I don't want to work for 15 companies and over the next 30 years. Like, I like to settle in and really help a brand and a company grow and be part of that decision making. And so it's how do we do that in the marketing world, for the future.
It is true. We almost do it. I guess it could be a good business model, but marketers for the marketer.
Yeah.
And, we don't do a good job of cheerleading for our departments and our wins and everything that we do. And I guess it's kind of like, the classic guy in your neighborhood who owns a landscaping business, but he has the ugliest yard in the neighborhood.
Yes.
Oftentimes, yeah, we know how to market. We just don't get to it. We don't do it for ourselves. We don't put ourselves first. And, how many friends do we have that aren't in marketing? I'm sure we could go through our LinkedIn profiles now and start counting the number of jobs we've all been at. And yeah, I definitely double digits. So I'm up there with you. But I have friends who, been working for the same oil and gas company for 30 years or engineering at, Texas Instruments for 20. We just don't have that type of stability in our industry. And what it does is it creates a lot of paranoia, a lot of that, I need to get some quick wins, because if I don't get quick
Oh my God,
wins, I'm
quick
the
wins.
CMO.
Everybody
Yeah.
drink. He said it. Like, yeah.
So yeah, it is an interesting point. I'm glad you bring it up. It isn't talked about. So,
Well, and it's also like the quick wins is like, I made the joke several times about data, but it's also like everybody's selling a thing. And I am always like listening to a pitch or trying to find a shiny object. And it's just not, it's not working. One, we don't spend that much money, so I can't invest that much money. But the stuff that is actually worthwhile and foundational is expensive and takes a long time. And so, like when I first started, we were on MailChimp. Well, if you've ever been on MailChimp, it's great for a startup. It's really hard if you're trying to grow. So we had to move over to a different CRM, and just building that and the impact that makes. It took a year. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh, great. We have a great email program, but now we need to bring on SMS and we need to bring on push. And traditionally in marketing, like my tenure would be up at that point. So it's like, how do we respect that role, get finance? So I love all my finance partners. They're great. But finance a little bit backed away from marketing, and really try to understand and give that position a little bit of space in the same way we give a tech team that space. The product and tech teams are always, their roadmaps are like 10 years out. I'm just like, damn, I would love that. And they're like, Meghan, you got 3 weeks. Yeah, triple that revenue. And that's true. And I'm just like, I have no idea how I'm going to do that. And so I feel like they're, really Matt and I are here to pitch you guys on our new business to rebrand the CMO, which is what this is about. But yeah, I look out there and I'm like, it would be great for someone to figure this out.
So what do you think the solution is? Like, where does it start? Does it have to come from top down, from the CEO? Does it have to come from a major national global corporation, being kind of the first in the space to do it? What are your thoughts?
I don't know. I think it's a brave CEO, to be honest. Like, I feel like we watch P&G go out there and like just tear apart ad agencies. And I don't know if that's like the best language or way to handle things. But it's just like, who is a marketing? Like, it's just nice to rip on marketing. And then also say like, they're great, but it's just when you go out there and you listen to all these reports on Wall Street, it is like, the marketing team does get blamed. And I don't want to sound like, I feel like I'm sounding like a terrible, like negative Nancy up here, but I do think it's probably like an advocate in leadership that isn't the marketer. It's also, all of our peers saying like, oh, I'm a finance person and maybe I don't totally understand marketing, which I also don't see that happening. I'm married to an illustrator graphic designer, and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about half the day. And he is totally marketing adjacent. So if everybody else was just really comfortable in being like, you're the expert in your space, I'm the expert in mine. And I think we could go forward. I think teams would be a lot better. And I hate to compare it to sports, but it's the same way. Like, if you're a good defender, you're not going to go out there and be like, oh, I should be a forward. Like, you're comfortable as a defender. That's where you want to be. You score a goal once a year, and that's exciting. Everybody cheers you on because they, you don't get goals. But then the forward is in their position and they're comfortable. And I think that more CEOs that drive that, but just more executives in general that can drive a healthy team atmosphere like that, especially big public companies. I think it's better off for all of us.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think a big component of it is diversity. We talk about a lot of, D&I and diversity inclusion, but I think it's job diversity and responsibility diversity. And you look at a lot of these large corporations like Shell and Dell and Texas Instruments, their marketing people aren't marketing people. They rotate every 12 months and they'll go do a product job and they'll go do a marketing job and then communications and this and that. And that's how they build a 30-year career. But I think you get someone like that who understands what product goes through and understands what marketing goes through and finance and all these things. When they do become CEO, they have a lot more perspective. And I think their expectations more realistic.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I was like, oh, the brand manager rotation, those days are over for me. But yes,
Yep.
I would totally, it is about perspective. And like, I always find like make someone work an event. Because the first time they work an event, they're like, oh my God, is this what you do? And I'm just like, yes, when you are nagging me on Slack, this is what I am talking to that crazy person about our brand. And it's great. And so I feel like that experiencing it all is very helpful to that.
Well, that's great. I want to open it up to questions in the audience. Farmer's Fridge is a super cool business model. So yeah, thanks for joining us, and I'd love if you can answer a few questions.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Matt.
All right. Questions. Don't be shy. All right. Go ahead.
Obviously, you guys had to kind of pivot during the pandemic and build that delivery business. Is that something, being a smaller company and still being funded, do you see that moving forward, you might be too diversified since you originally were B2C and now you're doing, or B2B and now you're doing B2C as well, and kind of trying to do the gamut on all of reaching everybody?
Yeah. So we moved. Yes, we moved our delivery business into a third-party logistics company. So we are no longer handling the shipping of that. I run delivery, so it's like my little baby. But as a company, it's just not our focus. It is helpful for driving top line revenue. It's definitely not our most profitable, as everybody knows. I mean, everybody knows meal delivery is a hard business. So we definitely have it on, but it's not our focus. It's really the fridge business, which we can manage end to end. I mean, the secret behind Farmer's Fridge is we're a supply chain business and it's really about logistics. And so that's the hard part about getting investments in marketing and MarTech, because really everybody in our company is focused on logistics because we're trying to get zero waste. We're trying to keep our product fresh. And so everything we invest in is that. And so with delivery, when we put in a box and it's out of our hands and we're not controlling it, it's just like not part of our entire mission. But it's been a very helpful channel. And it's also been really helpful in just driving brand awareness. So we're in 44 states with delivery. And so I now have like an awareness campaign that brings in revenue, which is like every marketer's dream. So it's been helpful. So I'm just like, don't turn it off yet. So it's been helpful, but yeah, going forward, our focus is really retail, wholesale, and fridges.
And I think what you told me, which was interesting, is that the fridge customer had higher margin and profit and lifetime value than the home delivery, which is shocking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, delivery costs are like crazy. And then, we deliver a refrigerated product, which is very hard to ship. So, it doesn't always end up perfect on your doorstep. And so once you put that all in, it's just not that great of a business. Whereas the fridge, we control everything. So every purchase that anyone makes is sent back to us, and that's how we do our production. So we're trying to get to zero waste. I think it's pretty difficult, but our waste levels are extremely low. Because of that algorithm and that constant signaling back into our production. So we make the exact right amount of food. And so, yeah, delivery is a tough one. Yeah.
Oh, so anyway, when I was working in an office, there was not a day that 25 or 30% of the people didn't have one of your containers on the desk.
Yay.
So it was great. But so as you are expanding, what other media channels do you think you're going to be utilizing?
Oh gosh, that's tough. I think our CEO likes to say our best billboard is our fridge. So I obviously love all the delivery paid, which is great. We're on Facebook and Google, like the classics. And then we invest a lot in PR. I don't know if we'll really be diversifying off too much off of that in the next couple of years. I think once we're at a much higher growth rate, or not growth rate, we're at a high growth rate, but at a much higher revenue stage, we'll invest in that. The issue is our fridges, a lot of them are private. So when you're looking at like billboard, like out of home, it's just like, oh, no one's going to walk into your old office building. They can't get in. So it is an interesting problem, which delivery has helped with, but that's why we focus on PR and events and a lot more of that before moving into more traditional channels.
All right. Great
Awesome. Thank you,
questions.
guys.
Thank you.